What's up, guys? This is Anime Crossover. I'm back with a new episode of What If Naruto Was the King of All Saiyans, Part 1. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video 100 likes for the next part. And if you're new, much like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 1 Reborn. As the Saiyan Prince Naruto was 20 years old, and he was done with all of his missions for today, and was relaxing outside of his house reading the latest issue of Jump magazines. That was created 2 years ago and it became popular throughout the elemental nations, and he watched Vegeta knock the energy out of the Goat Man. As he read Vegeta duke it out with the series' new nemesis Moro, he heard someone cry, "Look out." With a deafening crack, a small flawless silver orb that had fallen from the heavens struck him in the head and killed him. Naruto awoke in an odd prismatic environment that resembled space on acid. He then heard a voice, the same voice that had tried to warn him, call out to him. "I'm so sorry. That sphere was meant for another reincarnator, not you. Your death was never meant to happen." "Wait, you're telling me you fucked up your own job? What kind of god are you? Send me back," Naruto said. "I'm afraid I can't do that," the voice said, "but to make amends, not only will I allow you to keep your memories, but you can choose to reincarnate into whatever realm you want with a single wish." Naruto was terrified. "All my anime, I'll never get to finish," his otaku mind was screaming. Naruto was heartbroken, and the faceless voice sighed and continued, "You can reincarnate into that realm, and as your favorite character no less. I. Can be reincarnated in the Dragon Ball world as a Saiyan?" Naruto said, lifting his brow. The voice said, "Yes. Okay then, are there any limitations to my wish?" Naruto began to smile. "It has to be reasonable. Nothing like omnipotence and overpowering abilities," the disembodied voice replied. Naruto shook his head as he considered a powerful ability he'd like to have. He then added, "I want insanely powerful healing magic." "That's it? You chose healing magic out of all the options?" the voice asked. "Yep. I don't want anything too OP because it wouldn't be fun. Healing magic seems fine, as long as I can use it on myself as well," Naruto grinned. The voice in the sky laughed and said, "Okay, I've got the perfect blessing for you, and to spare you the trauma of birth, I'll seal your memories until the destruction of Vegeta." "Wait, what?" Naruto's soul was sucked into the Dragon Ball realm before he could respond. Asterisk 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 Nappa said, "Vegeta, they just sent a message saying that our home planet was destroyed by a meteor. I guess I'll never be king, ow." Naruto gripped his head in pain as memories of his old self surfaced within him. "Prince Vegeta, are you okay?" Raditz inquired, concerned. "Ha ha ha. I am the prince of all Saiyans. Ha ha ha. I really became Vegeta in this world. I'm neither Naruto nor Vegeta, but a perfect blend of the two." Naruto smiled. It's not like he took over the Saiyan prince's body. All of Saiyan pride, emotions, and memories combined into a single new creature. Naruto smiled as a flood of information entered his mind. That god didn't just give me healing magic, he gave me all the spells from Dragon Quest. The Saiyan prince could also sense that his mana was connected to his ki and would develop alongside it. Nappa asked, "Prince Naruto, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Turn off your scouters, everyone," Naruto said, looking up to Nappa and Raditz. There was only a squad of 10 soldiers out here, and only 3 of them were Saiyans. The rest were low-level henchmen from Frieza's army. They all followed Naruto's orders because he was the leader here, making him smile with an almost malicious grin. He killed out the remaining men with a fast series of ki blasts, leaving only Nappa, himself, and Raditz alive. "Vegeta, what did you do?" Nappa exclaimed, as Raditz shook in terror. "Are you really that stupid, Nappa? Frieza summons all of our warriors, and a meteor annihilates a planet full of people who can destroy entire planets with their fingers. No one in their right mind would believe such a lie. We're abandoning the Frieza force. Keep the scouters off at all times, but keep them with you. They'll come in handy later," Vegeta said. Vegeta opened his space pod by pressing a remote switch, and Nappa and Raditz took a moment to process what their prince had just informed them. "Where do we go?" Raditz murmured, a sad expression on his face. Vegeta sat in the pod and turned on the computer, smiling as he typed, "Good, Earth is on the galactic map. Calling your pods, we're leaving," Vegeta said. After alerting the 2 surviving Saiyans that they were on their way to Earth, Raditz smiled and said, "Are we going to pick up Kakarot?" "Not yet, no, Kakarot has his own route to follow. Going there now will only impede his growth." Vegeta was alluding to the growth of his heart and the S-cells that accompany it. "Look, just know that we only have a few years before we can make contact with Kakarot, so we can't stay on Earth," Raditz and Nappa said, bewildered. "So, why are we leaving now?" Nappa inquired. "I'm not saying anything else, nor am I going to explain things," Naruto said after hitting Nappa with his tail and caused him to fall down. "I am now the Saiyan King, and I have just commanded you two to call over your pods." The two Saiyans nodded before grabbing a remote and hitting a button. 3 spaceships flew over and landed alongside the group. Naruto approached their space pods and began searching for something inside of them. He eventually discovered the navigational equipment and checked the coordinates for Earth and then a few dozen other planets to mask the fact that Earth was his destination. After a few minutes, Naruto took the hard disks from each of them, saying, "This way, we can't be tracked." The Saiyans nodded, scared to say anything that may offend their prince. "Get in, we're leaving." When Vegeta told Raditz and Nappa to set the coordinates to his specifications, they did as he said. It took them 7 months to travel to Earth, and during that time Vegeta had mastered the technique of controlling his mana, with his power level also serving as a signal for his mana points. Vegeta was just 4 years old and had a power level of 1750, giving him 175 megapixels. For every 10 points of ki, I gain 1 point of mana. I can't believe how weak I am right now. The old me would have wasted around 20 years barely getting up to 18,000. Naruto used the heal spell on himself, draining 15 megapixels, and saw that the spell had only repaired about 10% of his injuries. "I would have to cast this 10 times to fully heal myself," he said. Naruto then used 28 megapixels to cast mid-heal and discovered that his body had repaired more than half of his injury. To begin with, his injuries were minor, thus Naruto's Saiyan body swiftly healed the rest of the damage, giving him merely a minor Zenkai boost. Naruto has a new power level of 1940, the power level of Nappa is 1350. Raditz has a power level of 380. 4 months after Goku, Naruto and his fellow Saiyans arrived on Earth. Naruto had spent his remaining time in space learning the fundamentals of ki sensing, beginning by maintaining a ki ball and attempting to perceive the energy rushing through his body. Naruto was finally able to sense his own ki after multiple failed tries. Naruto was able to glimpse the shape of his ki and the 2 other Saiyans near him despite his eyes remaining closed. In the original canon, Vegeta is frequently depicted as the number 2, never getting an opportunity to shine, despite the fact that Vegeta is one of the most skilled brains when it comes to learning. In the original canon of the story, Vegeta had almost mastered the ability to sense ki simply by knowing about it. However, with Naruto's much deeper understanding of how ki operates in this universe, Naruto was able to master the basics of ki control and sensing in half the time. Near the end of his journey to Earth, Naruto improved his senses to reach outward, up to 5 kilometers, and was improving with each passing second. He hadn't quite mastered managing his ki and concealing it yet, but with Naruto's present talent, it would only be a matter of time before he figured it out. Aside from ki, Naruto discovered a few things about his mana. One was that it recovered to maximum after sleeping, much like a video game. The other was that his mana did not recover as quickly as his stamina or ki did. It was stuck until he slept or found another way to restore it, such as a potion or something. Following their crash landing on Earth, the 3 Saiyans opened their pods and strolled out into an open field in the foothills. Naruto took a deep breath after looking at the blue skies and white clouds. The air was cleaner here than on his homeworld or any of the planets Naruto had visited previously. "God, the gravity is so light here," Nappa exclaimed as he exited the capsule. "I'm curious if this world has nice meals. Should we take it now?" Raditz rubbed his stomach. Naruto grimaced and sighed as he scratched his glabella, knowing that these two had a long road ahead of them, and that it would be difficult for Vegeta to rehabilitate them. "We're not here to conquer you two, and if you even so much as harm one of these Earthlings, I kill you myself," Vegeta said, shifting his ki. "We don't sell planets anymore, and there's no reason for us to fight weaklings either." "So, why are we here?" Nappa inquired. "To learn from them," Naruto replied, picking up his spaceship. "What would a bunch of weaklings from a low-level planet like this?" The two wondered. Raditz inquired. "Just do what you're told," grumbled Naruto. "Gather your ships and follow me." Naruto flew down in the middle of the road and approached the nearest person on the sidewalk, asking the resident where he could find Capsule Corp. The two stood straight and nodded compliantly. Naruto smiled as he looked at the befuddled and shocked citizen, nearly knocking Nappa and Raditz down. Can the prince laugh? Raditz pondered. After a couple of snaps of his fingers in front of the citizen's face, the human drew out a map and showed him where they were and where Capsule Corp was. Naruto smiled and thanked him, sending shivers up and down the spines of his fellow Saiyans. They rapidly flew away and arrived at Bulma's house, also known as Capsule Corporation. Naruto was worried about meeting his future wife, and his tail was flapping frantically as he approached the door and he knocked. When an older guy opened it, he saw 3 visitors dressed in odd clothes and holding what he guessed were toy spaceships. Dr. Brief doubted Naruto's ability to carry such a large object, especially if it was composed of metal. So, assuming it was some sort of paper match project, Dr. Brief began to close the door while saying, "I'm sorry, but we're not hosting any anime conventions, you must have the wrong place." Naruto then hurled the ship away, causing the ground to tremble slightly and Dr. Brief's mouth to drop. "I'd like to sell you one of these spaceships. In exchange, you must construct a new ship capable of supporting my training with a gravity chamber. The greater the maximum gravity difference you can achieve, the better," Naruto stated flatly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Dr. Brief approached the ship and began to investigate it. Naruto then approached it and pressed a latch near the door, and as it opened, Dr. Brief's eyes lit up. "Could you explain what this does and how it works?" Dr. Brief inquired, his eyes twinkling. Naruto nodded, knowing how to use the equipment even though he didn't understand the concepts behind it. After a while of teaching Brief, Naruto heard a young voice call out, "Papa? Who is there?" Naruto's heart raced as he recognized the voice calling out as his future waifu, Bulma, who popped her head out to see the crowd gathered at her house and looked astonished. She went out, curiously staring at Naruto's tail, before locking eyes with him and asking, "Who are you?" "I'm Prince Vegeta." "No, I suppose it's King Naruto now," Naruto said, holding out his hand, ruler of a few Saiyans. Naruto felt a sting run up his spine as Bulma tugged on his tail, and as he attempted a smile, he heard Bulma remark, "It's true. She's so cute." Naruto thought as he smothered his laugh. After clearing his throat, he wrapped his tail around his waist and stated, "Yes, it is true. I'm a Saiyan, an alien species. Because our tails are a little delicate, please don't touch them again." "Are you an alien?" The Briefs were taken aback. "I actually came here to commission your father to build us a new ship," Naruto said, looking across at his ship. "In exchange, you are free to disassemble and study these technologies to your heart's content." Naruto then gave a concise summary of the gravity ship he wanted to build, and since they were handing over the ships in excellent shape, he requested if they could push the gravity control as far as it could go while retaining the ship's integrity. After being informed that they should remove the tracking software from the navigation hard drives and the bugs from the scouters, Naruto and his companions were invited in for a lunch. The Saiyans had been surviving on protein bars and trapped inside a small space for months and couldn't refuse the offer. Picking up his pod once again, the trio entered the house to meet the rest of the Brief family. They were introduced to Bulma's older sister, Tights, and their mother, Panchi, right away. "It is a pleasure to meet you," Naruto said after introducing himself and the others with a little nod. "My name is Naruto, this is Raditz, and over there is Nappa." Raditz and Nappa were convinced that something was seriously wrong with Naruto because they had never seen him act in such a manner before. The two wanted to question their leader, believing he had been hit in the head or brainwashed by an extraterrestrial method, but the danger of Vegeta destroying them kept them mute. "Eep!" The females squealed as they surrounded the guys, rubbing their heads and pinching their cheeks. Because Naruto and Raditz were chibi-sized, they received a lot of attention. Raditz smiled and accepted their compliments, while Naruto kept it cool and Nappa looked annoyed at the Earthling while being terrified of Naruto murdering him at the same time. "They're so adorable," Panchi exclaimed cheerfully. "Wait, they have tails?" Tights exclaimed in amazement. "Please, dear, give them some space, the things they're carrying are quite heavy," Dr. Brief stated as he waved his hand. "Really, it's no trouble," Naruto said, waving his hand. "Where shall we put them?" Dr. Briefs grinned and added, "You can follow me to my lab." "Dear, can you ask the chefs to cook up their best meals?" the scientist said to his wife. "These young men will join us for lunch." "Oh, Saiyans eat a lot, Naruto replied abruptly. Our alien physiology requires us to take in a ton of calories, so if you could increase the portions of the meal to about 10 times what humans normally need, I would appreciate it. It took Panchi and Tights a moment to understand that Naruto had just declared himself an extraterrestrial and was waving his tail at them to prove it. Oh, my, Panchi said, surprised but not surprised. No way. Is that an alien? Tights exclaimed, completely taken aback. Naruto laughed a little as he followed Briefs to his lab. Bulma was constantly asking questions about his species, something Naruto tried to avoid because he wasn't too proud of his people's heritage. Dr. Briefs directed them to where they should install the equipment, which was placed on top of a massive steel platform. Naruto glanced about with approval, since this was exactly how a scientist's lab should look. There were numerous machines and computers, as well as several open projects, prototype flying cars, and new capsule modules with more room than the current goods. Naruto's gaze was drawn to something extremely unique, and he stepped up to it, grin on his face, and took up the 2-star Dragon Ball. Naruto didn't want to take Dragon Ball from Earth at this time since it would upset the timeline. He did, however, want to return to Namek after this to have Guru unlock his potential and grant him a few wishes so that he might aid him in his training. The reason he didn't just wish them there with Earth's dragon was because the potential brought out by Guru's talent would be diminished by the gains he makes on the voyage. Guru's strength is simply a catalyst for bringing that latent talent to the surface, and if they trained all the way there, the Saiyans might stockpile the potential and multiply the benefit several-fold. Guru's potential release is not inferior to the Elder Kai's, but it only stimulates their buried potential for a limited time before retreating back into their body. The advantage of Guru's method was that if the buried potential became dormant again, one could polish it and repeat the potential release process after years of training and storing new potential. Something Naruto wished Akira Toriyama would accomplish for humans as a type of training. He could only fathom how powerful Krillin would be if his potential was re-released. Not to mention that he intends to provide Krillin and Gohan with access to gravity training. Naruto imagined that both Zarbon and Dodoria would have died much sooner, and that the Ginyu Force as a whole might not have stood a chance. Can you make me a radar that can locate the radiation it's emitting? He asked Briefs. I don't think this commission is excessive because you own the ships, do you? Briefs was so preoccupied with the ship's mechanics that Naruto had to repeat himself. Sure. Yeah, I can do that, Dr. Briefs remarked as he returned his focus to the pods. Thank you, Naruto remarked with a smile, and how long do you think it will take to build our ship? If I'm quick to learn, which I usually am, 3 months at the very least, Dr. Brief scratched his chin. If I run into troubles, I have no more than a year. After chatting about and revealing more of the features of the ship's interior, Panchi arrived from space to inform the group that the lunch was finished. The Saiyans all drooled at the sight of the pile of food in front of them. Just the smell made them happy. Naruto, Raditz, and Nappa eagerly picked up the chopsticks and began to eat. For a moment, the Brief family's face was filled with dread as they saw the stack of grilled meat go into their stomachs, wondering where it all went. This is the best thing I've ever eaten, Raditz said as he finished another bowl of rice. Even Nappa couldn't complain since he couldn't stop cramming his face long enough to come up with a reason to. Naruto completed his lunch, laid the chopsticks down, and thanked them, which still frightened Nappa and Raditz. Naruto then rose up and told them that they would return in 3 months or so, bringing Nappa and Raditz with them as the Saiyans parted and soared out into the sky, shocking everyone once more. Huh. People can fly without the assistance of machines, Dr. Brief remarked, taking it all in stride. Naruto began to test his sensory abilities to their limits. He didn't feel anything, however, because of how he was employing his senses. Because the Saiyan Prince didn't have enough ki to search the entire world at once, he thinned out his ki and stretched it out like fishing wire. Naruto's senses reached multiple regions with the highest strength levels in a second, moving the strand of ki throughout his body like a radar. After a few minutes, he realized that Kami was the strongest of them all. That very Earth's guardian god was keeping an eye on them from a distance. My word, ever since this child has arrived, he has been slowly mastering how to sense ki, and he even managed to find us, exclaimed the light green Namekian on top of Kami's lookout. Are we in trouble, Kami? Said the dark-skinned Popo. I don't know, he hasn't shown any hostility to the planet or its people, but his power is far greater than my own, Kami answered. He's on his way to Korin's tower. The three Saiyans had arrived at the base of the tower far below the lookout, and Naruto looked to the other two and stated, "Start climbing, and don't fly," as he sprinted up the pillar with blinding speed. When Naruto reached the top and spotted the all-too-familiar bipedal cat, the two Saiyans shook their shoulders and raced up after him. "Oh, this is interesting," Korin said, "so what do I owe the honor of receiving such a powerful guest?" "Guidance, we need you to teach us martial arts and basic ki control," Naruto said, shaking his head. Nappa and Raditz had appeared beside him as he finished speaking. So you're telling me you have all this power but no martial training? Ah, the heavens are truly cruel." Korin shook his head. Korin had previously received permission from Kami to teach them the fundamentals of suppressing their ki levels. Korin was wise and knowledgeable beyond the trio of Saiyan's years. With a firm grasp on explaining ki control and how to detect it, the three Saiyans were able to reduce their power levels to single digits in a matter of hours. It got more harder to suppress and maintain until the trio of Saiyans managed to compress their ki to roughly 10% of their maximum power. Naruto's natural talent helped him to see the true meaning of Korin's words after hearing Korin's advice. With ample time, Nappa had improved his to 9, Raditz 5, and Vegeta was even better. Naruto had reduced his power level to 1, which was far more difficult than one might expect. The closer he went to reducing his ki, the more difficult it became to keep it under control. He stood there, perplexed by how simple it all seemed to him, so this is what I would be capable of if I had accepted guidance from greater teachers. Korin, impressed by their development, continued to lecture with vigor. Ki is the fundamental essence of all life, it flows through all things, and it exists inside us all. The Saiyans paid close attention to the lessons, partly out of fear, but once they realized how useful everything was, they jumped in like fish in water. You must become one with the ki, match your breathing to its wavelength, and gradually gain control, feeling it circulate inside your bodies from your core, and harness, reel it in. When the Saiyans messed up, this lesson was drilled into their heads multiple times, frequently accompanied by a sharp slap from Korin's staff. Vegeta had to threaten Raditz and Nappa several times to get them to accept it. Korin started teaching them how to detect their own ki. Only Naruto had begun to grasp the sophisticated skill of spreading it out and using it to detect one's surroundings. When the three Saiyans realized their own strengths, they rose up and began their ki sensing and martial arts training by reducing their own power levels and attempting to catch Korin blindfolded. Throughout the entire 5-day ordeal, Korin made a fool of the two Saiyans while Vegeta stood on the sidelines, observing and emulating Korin's every move. Naruto grew enamored with martial arts after noticing the skillfully veiled martial art style in the huge cat's motions. He was continually utilizing his ki to sense the bipedal cat's whereabouts and behaviors in order to memorize every detail. Korin was reacting without any unnecessary moves, almost as if he were playing chess, Naruto noticed. Never use one's strength to conquer power, but rather to exploit your opponent's strength and moves. Raditz was growing better at understanding the teachings, but Naruto had to calm Nappa down numerous times during their session. The balding imbecile kept expressing his desire to kill, and it was getting on Naruto's nerves. In reaction to Nappa's anger, Naruto resolved to demonstrate to him directly the importance of Korin's teachings. Naruto removed the blindfold and closed his eyes before approaching Korin. "Pay attention, Nappa. I'm lowering my ki to the same levels as Korin, and I'll still be able to catch him because of what he taught us," Naruto remarked, standing in his usual stance. Korin paused abruptly. "Oh ho ho ho, so someone did learn." Vegeta took a step forward and pushed his hand out in a powerful thrust. Korin leapt up and landed quietly on Naruto's outstretched arm, making no noise. Naruto raised his elbow as soon as he felt Korin's foot touch the thin layer of ki around his body. Korin began to retreat, while Naruto took advantage of the opportunity. He swiftly raised his ki and took the water from the tip of his cane. Korin completed a couple backflips before landing on the ground, smiling. "Very good, Naruto. You managed to imitate my style perfectly, although these two aren't bad at all. After all, I've never seen anyone so quick to learn ki control. Normally, it takes years, but you guys have done it in days," Korin said as he moved over to Naruto. "Martial arts can help us overcome stronger foes with skill. Now get back to work, you two." Naruto thanked him as he returned the water to him and looked at the two irritated Saiyans before saying. Korin laughed and brought out a few senzu beans, saying, "These will fill you up for a week," before tossing them over. Raditz and Nappa moaned as they indicated they were hungry and fatigued. But, before they ate it, Naruto exclaimed, "Wait." Naruto came over to Nappa and Raditz and began pummeling them without saying anything. He proceeded to beat on them until they were bruised and broken all over, and due to the disparity in their power levels, they couldn't protect themselves. Korin was perplexed until the two Saiyans collapsed and were each fed a senzu bean. They leapt up in amazement when they felt their bodies regenerate, entirely restored and stronger than before. Korin was taken aback when Naruto replied, "So it's true, as long as there is even a spark of life remaining, senzu beans can fully restore one to full health." "They can do that? How did you know?" Korin's ears perked. "I didn't think it was a legend. I heard about this bean from the god of destruction when I was a kid," Naruto lied, perplexing everyone in the room. "It doesn't matter. What would you have done if it didn't work?" Nappa yelled, his face flushed with rage. "I would have healed you with my magic," Naruto remarked as he cast a healing spell on himself. The two Saiyans were stunned once more. They'd heard that some aliens are prone to using magic, but they hadn't met one yet. The idea that their prince possessed healing magic signified something both amazing and terrifying. "So, how do you feel after your Zenkai boost?" Naruto asked, a grim smirk on his face. Nappa believed his power had nearly doubled to 1790, while Raditz's was at 877. Why did their ki suddenly increase to such lengths? Korin wondered, puzzled. Naruto swiftly described their Saiyan Zenkai feature, which shocked Korin, saying, "Such a perfectly suited ability for a martial artist. You should probably make lots of those senzu beans to prepare for the future, and if you don't mind me asking, can we take some away with us?" Naruto remarked. Korin nodded and thanked Naruto for teaching him that the senzus could totally heal someone's wounds as long as they had breathing. Korin then produced a few capsules containing several hundred senzu beans for each of the three Saiyans. Naruto thanked him and gratefully took the present, while making the other two to thank him as well or face his wrath. It took another week of training for Nappa and Raditz to master the fundamentals of Korin's martial arts approach. Korin was once again amazed by their talent, notably Naruto because he had virtually mastered what he had taught fairly fast. After they completed their basic training, Kami noticed that Naruto had no ill will toward Earth and was even attempting to persuade the rebels to think positively of the planet. While the Guardian of Earth thought it was risky, having the Saiyans owe them favors would benefit his world, the Namekian decided to call them up and have Popo continue their training, a dangerous wager. The three Saiyans flew up to the lookout after receiving the invitation and were taken aback. They were stunned to see this floating in the sky with no support. Even Naruto, who had previously known of the lookout, discovered that seeing it in person was a whole other experience. Naruto and the others met with Popo and Kami, and because Nappa and Raditz hadn't spent much time in the Frieza Force or his army, they hadn't heard of Namekians. "We need to get stronger in order to avenge our race and stop Frieza from destroying anyone else," Naruto said as they introduced themselves to Kami. "So it's vengeance you're after?" Kami raised an eyebrow. "I'm not going back to the old ways of being a Saiyan. Look where that's gotten us, homeless and without a planet to belong to," Naruto pondered as he tapped his foot against the ground. "I believe we'll team up with the Galactic Police and try to get work from them. After all, we're still a warrior race. We're just going to use our innate desire for combat for a better purpose from now on," Naruto declared. Naruto could tell Kami had a lot of questions about the cosmos and the people who lived in it, so he answered them to the best of his ability. He told Kami about how vast the universe is and how many powerhouses exist within it that can dwarf Earth's forces. "Could you give a description of how much of a difference there is?" Kami was asked. "If Ki were put on a numerical scale, I would be around 2,300 now, you are 220, and Frieza is 120 million at full power," Naruto said. Raditz and Nappa collapsed and exclaimed, "Impossible." They were shocked not just by Naruto's ideas for their future, but also by the tremendous difference in power levels between Frieza and them. "That's why we need to change our ways as Saiyans," Naruto said, further perplexing the two. "Use your heads. Why do you think there haven't been any Super Saiyans since the age of old?" "You're talking about the legend, right?" Nappa asked, his head scratched. "It's not a legend. Do you know how difficult it is for a Saiyan to be kind-hearted? We give in to our darker impulses without a second's thought instead of controlling or redirecting them into something more positive. I think this is why Saiyans lost this transformation, and why it was so rare," Naruto countered. For the first time in their lives, Nappa and Raditz looked to Naruto and said, "I swear that I will prove it, and defeat Frieza with my own two hands. We are Saiyans, and I have the ability to heal not only my wounds, but yours as well. If we can bring our base power levels up to 3 million or so, then Frieza won't stand a chance." Nappa inquired, "How do you know all of this?" "I am. Dot was the prince of all Saiyans, and I know more legends truths than most," Naruto lied between his teeth. After hearing the entire story, Kami sighed and replied, "I will help you on the condition that if Earth is ever attacked, you come to our aid." "I promise to protect this world," Naruto replied, nodding his head. "After all, someday I'll probably come here to settle down." Kami was overjoyed to learn the good news. "Now, can we begin our training?" Naruto inquired, smiling. Kami smiled, and they spent the next 3 months learning different martial arts and key manipulation techniques. Naruto had Kami create them new weighted garments, each weighing around 1.5 tons. Naruto retained his long-sleeved shirt, white gloves, and Cell Games armor, but wore loose blue martial GI pants and a belt that resembled the fusion outfits, as it had 2 long cloth ends dangling from the side of his waist. Over his armor was a fusion dance vest, but without the puffy yellow collars around his neck and arms. It was also considerably longer, like a sleeveless jacket, and hung just over his tail, with a slit down the middle. The boots were identical to the ones Whis fashioned for Goku. Naruto observed that it seemed strange to have both a tremendous rivalry and admiration for Goku, as seen by the shoes and wardrobe change. Raditz was dressed like Naruto recommended, and he resembled the image from Masako X Fanfic's "What If Raditz Turned Good" story. He wore the shoulderless black-colored Saiyan armor and had his hair slicked back into a ponytail with a single bang poking out the top of his hairline. His clothes were identical to Goku's orange costume, and his boots were still in the Saiyan style. Nappa had decided to wear what he was used to, but Naruto compelled him to wear trousers, so he chose black baggy pants like Raditz. Their new power levels were determined after 3 months of training with Kami. Naruto has a score of 3,500, capable of suppressing power to 1% of maximum power. Nappa, 2,300, capable of suppressing power to 7% of maximum power. Raditz has a total of 1,310, capable of suppressing power to 2.5% of maximum power. They didn't spar regularly, therefore they couldn't take advantage of their Zenkai enhancement too often. Nonetheless, they made significant progress in such a short period of time. The most important gain of all was the solid foundation they laid for their future in martial arts. Their ki control was comparable to Kami's and would only increase in the future. Naruto was pleasantly surprised to discover that he could learn Namekian magic. However, he could only employ warrior clan spells. Materialization beams, instant transit to the afterlife, and meditation, for example, allowed Naruto to gradually restore his mana pool over time rather than resting. It's slow, but it's something. Naruto loved the fact that he could finally regen his mana. He also learned some useful mental exercises that will aid Nappa and Raditz in overcoming the brutality of the Uzaru impulses. He may use this to teach other surviving Saiyans how to use the 10 times boost without sacrificing their IQ. When they realized how much time had passed, they went to check on the progress of their ship's completion. In a burst of speed, Naruto and the others bid farewell and flew off toward C-Corp. "To think we got so much stronger just from training. I'm sorry I doubted you, Vegeta." Nappa was the first to speak up. "Yeah, I can see why you came here now, but why can't we pick up Kakarot? I mean, we're here and all," Raditz grumbled, missing his little brother. Naruto was relieved to hear anything encouraging from the two. Although he had been pounding the manners into them for the duration of their training, it was nice to see some results. "I can't tell you why, but if we interfere with his life right now, we will only hinder his potential. Out of all of us right now, he has the greatest chance to achieve Super Saiyan because his heart is clean. Just let him be until he grows up, and 25 years from now, we will return and ask Kakarot to join us," Naruto stated flatly. The two sighed, knowing that something had dramatically changed their lord, but he still refused to share anything with them. However, they no longer despised him since Naruto had begun to treat them with dignity. Although he was still a little hard when it came to teaching Earthlings how to think, Naruto had regarded them more as equals in recent months, rather than as subordinates beneath him. After another meeting with the Briefs, they were asked to have supper with the family. While they were eating, Dr. Brief informed them that the new ship and radar had been completed. They finished their breakfast and followed the good doctor to the spaceship that was waiting for them. Vegeta noticed that it resembled Goku's ship but had more space and was somewhat oblong in shape. I did what you asked. I got the ship's gravity room to around 400 G. It can go higher, but based on the material the ship is made of, it can only reach around 450 before the pressure compromises the ship's integrity. I'll need better metallic composites to improve the durability further, and that could take some time, Dr. Brief said as he led them inside. I've also built a large storage room full of dino caps containing food that's both delicious and high in calories, a set of 10 extra rooms in a large bridge for an entire crew, a meditation chamber, and 2 cells. Brief scratched his head while taking a cigarette drag. Naruto was impressed by his labor. Having an intact spaceship made all the difference. Did you also pull all the navigational data off their hard drives? Dr. Brief interrupted. Yes. I've also added a nice coffee maker in case you're tired of health drinks and water. Got some primo stuff in there for ya, so make sure to enjoy it on my behalf. I can't thank you enough for the help, Naruto laughed. Don't be silly, because of you, I'll be working on stuff until I die. Such new and revolutionary technology has really opened up my world, Dr. Brief stated as he waved his hands. As they left, Naruto ordered Nappa and Raditz bow down, and they waved goodbye as Bulma came up to Naruto and asked, "Will you come visit?" Naruto grinned. She was young and might not even remember him, but he hoped as he answered, dejected and bitterly, "Sure, I'll try." When Raditz and Nappa asked Naruto where they were going after flying back into space, Vegeta sat in the bridge's captain's seat and remarked, "The first place we're heading is towards Yardrat." "Why?" Raditz inquired. "To learn some more," Naruto grunted in response. Naruto went inside the training room after entering the coordinates into the computer and telling the others to stay outside for a moment. He intended to put his wizardry to the test by creating gravity. He intended to explore whether he could put his body into a constant state of Zenkai boosts using the spell Re-Heal, which operated like regeneration. Starting it on 10x, he felt his weighted clothing fly through the roof, he threw his Re-Heal spell, and his body collapse onto the new everything. He saw that it healed per second and drained his mana in a similar manner, losing 25 mana points every 60 seconds. Bit by bit, he stood back up and felt his power begin to grow. Once he could stand, he began doing exercises, thousands of sit-ups, push-ups, handstand push-ups, running in circles as fast as he could, shooting himself with his own ki blast, dodging the laser training system, and constant shadow boxing, all the while gradually increasing the gravity level. 3 days had gone before Naruto knew it, and he had already achieved 35 gigaseconds. Ha ha ha. Naruto began to giggle, his body constantly repairing thanks to his Re-Heal spell. As a result, more ki was supplied by Zenkai boosts, giving him a larger mana base, allowing him to continue the spell for a longer length of training. With just this one simple magic, my progression will be infinite, Naruto burst out laughing. He then turned off the gadget and stared in awe at his newfound strength. After 3 days of training, Naruto's new power level is 10,155. Naruto ushered Nappa and Raditz into the training room, where they began their 2-month trek to Yardrat. Every day, they continued to train and fight. All the while, Vegeta was constantly casting magic to heal them. However, things had grown so bad that he had ran out of mana and passed out. Raditz fed Naruto a senzu bean, and he was startled to see that the beans not only restored his entire health but also replenished his mana. The 3 Saiyans had increased in strength by the time they arrived at Yardrat. However, because they were wearing 1.5 tons of weighted clothes, the 3 of Saiyans walked gingerly, only reaching 40 times Earth's normal gravity, the original gravity of the Saiyan homeworld, Sadala. Naruto also made certain that his and Raditz's gravity training was not too much less than what they desired. Naruto didn't want them to harm their body's growth by subjecting them to regular gravity training. As a result, they concentrated mostly on technique instruction and ki control. Naruto would also be lying if he said he didn't want it to affect his height. Because Naruto and Raditz's age contributed to their slower increase in strength, Nappa had able to overtake Naruto in power. Everything would change once they reached their growth spurt. The Saiyans' increased power levels were, by the time they got on Yardrat. Place Naruto, 28,300 Nappa place, 21,900 petaliters Raditz, 15,000. Naruto's power level was becoming increasingly difficult to train without abusing the gravity chamber, and he didn't want Zenkai to be the only thing that made him stronger, so he avoided relying entirely on it. Furthermore, the closer his fellow Saiyans were, the better. The greater the power, the stronger Zenkai will be after the beating. He made touch with the people of Yardrat and communicated with them via telepathy. During his ki experiments, Naruto realized that he could use telepathy by conversing with your ki. It functioned by imbuing one's ki with explicit intent and meaning before transmitting it to someone else. It was a difficult skill for the other two Saiyans to learn, but Naruto had no issue learning it after putting in all of his work. The Yardratians tested them for a while after learning they came here to become pupils, to see if they meant harm. So, for the next 3 months, they waited and exercised hard every day without using their Zenkai boosts. Naruto didn't want them to forsake their martial arts training, so he advised them to take this time to focus exclusively on it, and when they finished training on Yardrat, they'd learn to strike a balance between training and manipulating their physiology. Paibara, the leader of the Yardratians, met with them 2 months later. He was a giant round alien with 2 whiskers dangling from his jaw and 2 pointy ends on the top of his head, unlike the other Yardrats of his kind. As an offering, Naruto handed out a part of his senzu beans. After witnessing the effects of the beans, the Yardrat leader consented to train Naruto on the condition that he fight the ice demon known as Frieza. Naruto nodded, and they were instructed to match their souls with their bodies for the first year of their training. Naruto was astonished to discover how much energy he was wasting on his attacks as a result of their tremendous knowledge of ki control. For example, if he used a blast with 50 points of battle power after aligning his soul, that 50 could hit with the power of 5,000. It increased the potency, thickness, and durability of his ki by a factor of 100. One could even argue that they are adaptable. They were taught a number of skills throughout the next 12 years, including instant transmission, gigantification, and a few of other powers that Goku didn't have time to master. Naruto always believed it was a shame that Goku left his training early since he detected Frieza approaching Earth. Perhaps it was at that point that Kakarot began his strange behavior. Because Frieza traveled to Earth to find him, he began to believe that the world would be better off without him. He didn't want to endanger his friends any longer, Naruto reasoned. If he had slain Frieza without hesitation, he would not have gone to Earth hunting for him. This thought lingered through Goku's mind throughout the Cell Saga, only to be reinforced by Gero's entrance. This is why, despite being so close to Earth, he did not teleport back but instead waited for Frieza to arrive. He was preparing them for such an occasion in the future, a day without him to assist. Of course, if things had become hectic, he would have come over and dealt with it. Despite his naivete, Kakarot can be quite thoughtful at times. Naruto grunted, thinking. He shook his head and went back to his study. Vegeta was studying a beneficial martial art that might be combined with the instant transmission technique. Goku had just learnt the first stage of this technique as well. The initial step of training requires one to place his hand to his forehead and focus all of his essence into a single point, while the second stage of instant transmission is the use of the ability without relying on the stance, but to teleport merely by willpower. The third stage was considerably more difficult. It required teleporting ki blast and just body parts. Even Naruto struggled with this one and could only complete half of it. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't separate his body parts using the rapid transmission technique. He assumed it was due to anatomical differences and, in the end, had his idea verified by the person educating him. Their Yardration cells were remarkable in that they could always remain in a quasi-state of flux, as if they were both in reality and not. Naruto could theoretically teleport to different universes if he mastered this skill. Yardratians, being masters of time and space, may even create storage rooms within their own bodies. This technique captivated Naruto. Unfortunately, it took at least 10 years to develop this area, and another 5 years to improve the space's value. He knew it would take up a lot of his time, but because he was still a teenager, he had to let his body mature with his training schedule. However, in the 13th year of his training, Naruto paused and used his instant transmission to travel to Earth. He had to wait around 3 months for what he was searching for the sky to darken. The everlasting dragon and the Pilaf incident on the full moon. Naruto closed his eyes and teleported to a stomping Uzaru Goku in the midst of destroying Pilaf's fortress. Naruto realized he had to work quickly because Oolong was going to make his wish for panties and Goku was seconds away from losing his tail. I wish for the Saiyan known as Goku to regain his senses through mastering a teachable method to control his Uzaru form, he said, holding Yamcha in place with his ki. It shall be done. Naruto then turned to the floating and confused Yamcha. A wicked grin appeared on his face as he laughed and decided to teleport the bandit back into the middle of the desert where he came from. Nobody messes with my Bulma. I'm not going to let you cheat on her, you jerk. Yamcha never interacted with Bulma after the event, so Naruto teleported him back to resume his training. So he had no idea she was going to utilize the Dragon Ball to wish for the perfect boyfriend. As a result, Yamcha never found out she was unmarried and, as a result, she never became closer to Goku. In actuality, he still despised Goku, but was now too terrified to approach him. Goku, who had only recently recovered, stared in awe at his massive body. However, this was accompanied by the revelation that he was the one who squashed his grandfather. Goku, the enormous monkey, began to scream at the moon. Bulma and Oolong came to a halt as Goku drowned in his grief. Goku. Bulma worriedly screamed out his name. Goku tried to stop crying and became determined to bring his grandfather back and undo his accident. He sniffled and replied to Bulma, "Yes, Bulma, it's me." "Can you change back?" exclaimed the giant ape, startling Bulma and Oolong. Bulma inquired, looking up at him. Goku began to calm down and shook his head, saying, "I don't know." After discovering that the moon was the cause of his change, Bulma proposed that they wait for the sun to rise as the Pilaf gang fled for their life. Bulma explored the castle debris for something to wear once Goku had returned to normal. Bulma found an old outfit worn by Shu among the ruins and gave it to him while informing Goku that the Dragon Balls would take a year to return. Goku nodded and discussed with Bulma what he would do until he could hunt for them again. They made the decision to go their separate ways until then. Bulma had had her fill of excitement and danger and desired to return home. As the party parted ways, Goku waved goodbye and soared off to Master Roshi's island to practice. Naruto and his fellow Saiyans stayed on Yardrat for 2 years until he eventually mastered the spatial storage ability. Naruto and Raditz had matured considerably and could now work out their bodies without fear of slowing their growth. Naruto remained the shortest, but he was a few inches taller than his previous canon body. He assumed it had something to do with the nourishment he received from Earth. After all, he ate a lot of eggs every day to ensure he grew higher than previously. The original Vegeta, like the rest of the Saiyans in the PTO, was starved and mistreated. Frieza, on the other hand, had it in for him. He'd sometimes starve him or have his men beat him up for fun. Not exactly the best environment for children's development. Nappa's face remained the same, but he lost his hair, much to his chagrin. The Senzu beans were unable to solve the problem. Their ship was floating above Yardrat's atmosphere, and Naruto was sitting in a floating sitting position in his meditation chamber. Because there were no windows, light, sound, or weight in the room, it filtered off the rest of his senses. Naruto was settling his ki and envisioning his new technique, taking notes from the manga and aiming to master certain future assaults he produced. After getting up and withdrawing a dino capsule from his waist, Naruto smiled as he considered dragging the material into his body pocket area. Naruto assigned coordinates to the nearest PTO base, laughing at the fact that he had finally succeeded in building his pocket space. They would travel from base to base, defeating Frieza's army and stealing their technology until Goku reached the age of 19 and married Chi-Chi. He wanted to use the Dragon Ball before she became pregnant with Gohan because he had a brilliant idea. Naruto started out for the nearest planetary trade organization facility, smiling as he assessed his and his fellow Saiyans' new power levels. 185,300 Polish zlotys for Naruto PL Nappa, 123,000 petaliters Raditz, 142,000. They have all adapted to 100 times gravity while maintaining their martial arts skills. Naruto also noticed something interesting about their Zenkai boosts: it had a threat modifier. They might adapt to face a stronger threat if they were damaged, although it was more of a damage X threat X latent potential type of mesh. Nappa's martial arts talent wasn't as strong as Raditz's, but he managed to keep up without falling too far behind. They had 6 years until they had to depart and pick up Kakarot. It will be 6 years before he travels to Earth to see his Bulma. During this period, Naruto would put his gravity training on hold and engage in non-stop fighting, acquiring significant combat experience and wiping out a piece of Frieza's domain before handing it over to the space police for safekeeping. Naruto studied the galaxy map and decided on a cluster of bases near a dozen or so medium-level planets. Each of the soldiers here had a power level of 10,000 or more. with the strongest having a power level of 90,000. Naruto smirked and chuckled, realizing that the Ginyu Force was only famous because they were Frieza's pet project. Their status as the PTO's most powerful members is entirely undeserved. Cooler's warriors were stronger, and Cold's personal might was most likely even stronger. Naruto always desired Akira Toriyama would explain the Frost Demon hierarchy in the original canon. He would have loved to see it clarified. They were only referred to as the best because Frieza had high hopes for Ginyu's unique abilities and desired to put them to use. Perhaps he even planned for Ginyu to steal Cooler's body and use it as a slave for his older brother. That sounds exactly like something Frieza would do, Naruto reflected to himself. The Ginyu army did become famous through proxy, which helps to explain the difficulty the Z fighters had in bringing down the mobs during the resurrection arc. He had been wondering why someone who could definitely one-shot someone of Frieza's ancient power had difficulties facing down his soldiers, and now he had his answer. The PTO had far tougher opponents than he had previously imagined. Frieza inherited his father's army, and many of them have captured high-level worlds with populations of 500,000 or more, probably King Cold's men, or other frost demons, Naruto surmised. Only when someone significantly stronger comes does the army dispatch a frost demon to deal with them. And the proprietor of this establishment was, in fact, a frost demon who served for Frieza's family as a PTO general. Naruto's communication system was activated after arriving in the most battle-heavy section of space. When I put them on, a screen popped up displaying a member of the Galactic Patrol. The screen was grainy and continuously popping in and out of focus due to the fact that they were under severe fire. Unknown spaceship, please vac zap the area, as my forces, Buzz, taking on the PTO, Zap, are currently too dangerous so Buzz to get close. Naruto smiled and teleported to an oxygen-rich planet, where he gathered a massive sphere of it with his ki. He teleported back into the ship and instructed Nappa and Raditz to do the same. Naruto-style space combat, no suits, Vegeta stated as he walked up to where the action was the most intense. Big Bang attack, he said as he charged up a gigantic ball of ki. The huge ball of energy condensed into the size of a beach ball before exploding into one of the PTO's warships. As everyone's attention was pulled to Vegeta, a massive explosion occurred. Is that a Super Saiyan? With a shocked expression, the GP member fighting neighboring fighter ships stated. Nappa and Raditz soon joined him in wreaking havoc on the PTO's ships. Millions of missiles and lasers were launched within minutes after the commencement of fight, attempting to land an attack on the Saiyan warriors, but ultimately failing and being met with annihilation. Big Bang, barrage, the opposing opposition was destroyed by dozens of bombs. Bunker bomb, says the narrator. Nappa screamed, causing a tremendous explosion surrounding the place he was pointing at, killing thousands of PTO members. Riot javelin, says the announcer. Raditz yelled as he dragged his laser over the battlefield, causing explosion spheres to light up the darkness of space. One ship, though, escaped unscathed. It was the entity with a 90,000 power level. Don't interfere, Naruto said to his comrades. With a smirk on his face, he flew over and landed directly in front of the PTO's crab-like mothership. Naruto noticed a short frost demon, which appeared to be even shorter than Frieza in his first incarnation. Step out and face me, coward, with a grin on his face, Naruto remarked. He could feel his Saiyan blood heating, eager for the challenge of fighting someone powerful. I applaud you for your bravery, Naruto said as he flew out of the ship. Not everyone has the guts to face the King of Saiyans. The Frost Demon blinked a few times before pressing the scouter button. After a few seconds, the power level read 75,000, and when he looked at the other two, he saw the same numbers. Ha ha ha. To think that some of the monkeys made it. The Frost Demon grinned as he examined Vegeta's image and remarked, Ah, I recognize you. You have to be Naruto. Do you know who I am? Naruto arched his brow. Ha. The one who committed mutiny by killing your fellow PTO members and going AWOL. The Frost Demon laughed again. Who doesn't know who you are? There is a great reward for your head. How could I not recognize you? The Frost Demon then smirked confidently at Naruto and stated, I admit you have some power, but you are a lot weaker than me. If you want a one-on-one, you'll most likely lose, but so will your pals. His gaze shifted to Nappa and Raditz. Don't worry, they won't interfere with our match. Aren't you going to introduce yourself? Naruto responded with a confident expression. The Frost Demon was about to respond when Naruto raised his hand and stated, Never mind, you're going to die anyway. Naruto vanished and reappeared in front of the Frost Demon in a dazzling burst of speed. Naruto's arm blurred as he landed a hard blow to the Frost Demon's gut. The Saiyan King stretched out his fist and plunged deeper into the Frost Demon's stomach. As he floated away, the Frost Demon belched and stumbled back, writhing and heaving in anguish. "You can transform, right?" remarked Naruto, shaking his head. "No way is his power level only read as 75,000, the Frost Demon said, astonished by the damage. He attempted to buy time by goading Naruto. "That's right, you Saiyans love a good fight. If you give me 1 minute to power up, I can show you my true power." "Well, what are you waiting for?" Naruto asked, smiling. "Fool." As the Frost Demon began to build up, his body grew larger and resembled Frieza in second form, albeit hornless and with a blue tint to his skin. His power increased to roughly 255,000, making Naruto grin and ask, "Is this the limit?" "Yes, but it's more than enough to defeat someone with a power level of 75,000 like you," laughed the Frost Demon. "I'm not sure what techniques you employed to gain strength, but it doesn't matter anymore." Naruto yelled as he powered up to his maximum, and the scouter on the Frost Demon began to shake as it jumped to 186,000. "I've never heard of such a powerful Saiyan," the Frost Demon exclaimed in amazement. Naruto charged over and began throwing rapid fire punches. In response, Frost Demon returned fire, blasting out any space debris that had collected over the battlefield. Naruto, despite having a lesser power level, was continually suffering punches but was able to protect himself somewhat because to his martial arts expertise. The Frost Demon continued to strike Naruto, and with each hit, Naruto became a little faster, able to keep up with the Frost Demon's attacks. "Naruto has just gotten even stronger," Nappa expressed amazement. "HMPH, I'll catch up quickly," Raditz said as they saw them vanish and reappear throughout the region. When the two resurfaced, they slammed into one another's fists, emitting enormous shockwaves that were absorbed by the great nothingness of space. Naruto felt his tummy bend in as his bones fractured and began to heal as a result of his re-heal spell. The Frost Demon was taken off guard when the Saiyan King delivered another gut-wrenching punch that nearly popped the Frost Demon's lungs, not expecting Naruto to rebound so swiftly. The two resumed their fight, and this time Naruto was powerful enough to fight back. Naruto delivered a vicious punch to the Frost Demon's chin, while the demon retaliated by speeding up his own strike. When the Saiyan landed a strong backflip kick to Vegeta's chin, his neck wrenched back and his jaw and spine cracked. The Frost Demon then launched an attack, attempting to wrap his tail around Vegeta's neck while kicking him in the stomach. The silhouette of Naruto's picture dissolved as the purplish tentacle wrapped around his neck. Naruto used an afterimage and sped behind the Frost Demon's back before realizing it was all a trick of ki and speed. Naruto hit the back of the Frost Demon's skull with a hard axe hammer punch while holding his hands together with interlaced fingers. As he sailed across space like a tumbling wildflower in the wind, the Frost Demon growled. The Frost Demon extended his mouth and launched a tremendous beam back at the Saiyan King as he recoiled from the attack. Naruto retaliated by boosting his ki and tanking the attack head-on. A massive explosion occurred, but Naruto stood in the middle of it and survived. His body looked horrific. He was barely alive, covered in burns, practically all of his bones were broken, and only his ki was holding his body together. "Ha ha ha. Why didn't you dodge?" laughed the Frost Demon. "You absolute moron. Full heal," Naruto exclaimed, laughing. Suddenly, his entire body gleamed an azure green color as all of his wounds healed and his ki skyrocketed. The scouter on the Frost Demon's face grew and grew until it detonated about 353,000. "I'm done with you." Naruto muttered this as he took the Kamehameha leg stance and used it, but his hands were in the shape of his Gaelic gun stance. Naruto fired his new move with a rapid power-up and exclaimed, "Gaelic Kamehameha." A massive indigo-colored blast smashed through Naruto's target. The Frost Demon raised his hands to block, but he couldn't even struggle. The beam flew off into the empty space with a terrifying death howl, bringing bits and pieces of the Frost Demon's body with it. After verifying his kill, Naruto directed his fellow Saiyans to the PTO mothership and said, "Clear them out, but don't damage the flagship. Make sure you catch a few scientists as well." Raditz and Nappa easily cleaned out the spaceship and captured a couple of PTO scientists. They were both the reptilian, bird-like species that Malaka belonged to on the PTO. The species was recognized for being the leading pioneers in the PTO's technology department, with short bodies, sleek beaks, and vibrantly colored mohawks. Naruto quickly stowed the mothership within his 3-kilometer storage area and smiled at the gifts he planned to give Bulma when he returned. After all, he had missed several birthdays. The party walked over to the Galactic Patrol mothership after confirming that the hostages had been secured and tied in one of the holding cells. They were allowed to board, and they were greeted with huge screams and ovation from the remaining Galactic patrolmen. Naruto then announced himself and his crew as remaining Saiyans, prompting their applause to be cut short by the shock of being saved by a Saiyan. It obviously threw the GP for a loop, but after explaining that they abandoned the PTO as youngsters and that Frieza was their deadliest enemy because he was the one who destroyed their planet, the members of the Galactic Patrol began to relax a little. "We have sworn off the old Saiyan lifestyle and vowed vengeance against Frieza and all of the Frost Demons," Naruto said, "and I want to form a partnership with the Galactic Patrol to assist you in combating the PTO." The police officer grinned and extended his hand. Before Naruto and the others were brought to the nearest army base, the two space-faring warriors shook hands. They met with the commanding general and were briefed on the current situation. They were able to reach an agreement after about an hour of debate. They would become a valuable outside resource for the GP, receiving some of the best and most difficult jobs. This was on the condition that they assist them in clearing this sector of space and holding out until the main forces arrive. Naruto pledged to restore order to the solar system's livable planets. He agreed to their request since that was exactly what he desired: the gradual elimination of the PTO. This was their moment to demonstrate that their words weren't simply words, the first step toward altering the universe's perception of the Saiyan race. After taking flight, they went from base to base, slaying PTO members and even killing a few more weak frost demons while they were at it. Sickle, a frost demon with a second form and a power level of 260,000, proved to be quite a task for Raditz. After hours of suffering at the hands of Sickle, Naruto cast Reheal on him and watched as Raditz's Saiyan blood surged with power. Raditz had finally surpassed the frost demon in power after 5 hours of warfare. It wasn't until the final form Sickle hit Raditz in the throat with a death beam that he obtained a Zenkai boost that pushed him over the top. As the two fought intensely, Raditz roared with all of his strength, destroying countless PTO facilities on the asteroid as well as several of its members. Sickle was losing his cool and attempted to blow up the asteroid they were on. Raditz was having none of it. He landed with a soaring front kick, crushing the back of Sickle's skull into the ground with both feet. Sickle screamed as his face was dragged briefly into the earth before being hurled into the gigantic ki blast unleashed by the Frost Demon to destroy the large asteroid colony. The explosion caused by his collision with the ball of energy shook the area like a world-ending quake, and the Frost Demon collapsed to the ground covered in wounds. Raditz had no mercy, stepping on his head and crushing it. Raditz then declared victory with a primal Uzaru-like roar. After the fight, his new power level was an astounding 314,000. Nappa also had a battle with a frost demon named Hales. In his second incarnation, the enormous monster had a terrifying power of 280,000. The two fought like crazy titans from the start, dealing blow for blow. Nappa had no chance because he was repeatedly thrown back. He even survived a near-fatal blast. Frieza used a similar killing ray, although it was scattered. Nappa's heart and lungs were penetrated as his throat filled with blood and his brain began to die off cell by cell. The next thing he felt was Naruto casting full heal magic on him. The Frost Demon, believing the battle was over, turned his back on Nappa and attempted to insult the other Saiyans. However, an explosion of ki shot up behind him as Nappa ran behind it, ramming the Frost Demon in the back with a burst of speed he couldn't keep up with. While the ki blast burned his flesh and the Saiyan's tackle fractured Hales' spine, Nappa seized the Frost Demon by the head and leg. Nappa yanked Hales in half without giving him a chance to answer, causing the Frost Demon's blood to cover his body. He then tossed the rest of the shattered corpse and blasted a mouth blast towards Hales' top half, shattering him into space dust. 318,000 is Nappa's new power level. Raditz had fallen behind Nappa once more, but only because Nappa's opponent had a considerably higher threat modifier. Naruto laughed as they resumed their slaughtering spree, snatching quite a bit from the PTO in this area of space. They also compelled some of the scientists to install the most advanced healing chambers they seized inside Naruto's spaceship as a treat. They could now abuse the training room without fear of running out of senzu beans or using Naruto's abilities too much. After 3.5 years of annihilating all Frieza Force members, the Galactic Patrol had finally regained this quadrant, and reinforcements from HQ had arrived and participated in the fighting. Naruto was astonished to see so many powerful GP members and then realized that several of them had power levels ranging from 350 to 400,000. It only makes sense. Frieza couldn't tolerate the GP otherwise. Naruto began to suspect that the warrior Whis identified as being stronger than Barris was actually working for Galactic Patrol. Naruto was growing bored of fighting after years of doing so. He needed to get some rest and soothe his mind. The Saiyan's strength levels were well over 500,000 as a result of the years of non-stop battle. Thinking over the year, Naruto predicted that Goku would marry soon. After celebrating with the GP and solidifying their relationship, the Saiyans exited the area of space and continued on their way to Namek. A strange power with evil intent was slowly correcting history in the shadows as they moved throughout the galaxy. A bunch of low-level Frieza Force personnel were drinking in a large tavern at the nearest PTO base near Earth, and among them was Turles, a dark grayish-skinned, Goku look-alike Saiyan. "Ow! You lied!" Turles yelled angrily. "I win, and you must accept my planet-conquering job." A hooded figure across from the ranting man extended his hand. They were playing some sort of card game, and Turles evidently lost big. Turles groaned as he passed over a wad of cash. A slim, well-built arm extended out through the stranger's cloak in response. The strange being's skin tone was a faint purple, and he wore a pair of fingerless tan leather gloves, but nothing more was seen. "Relax, there isn't anyone stronger than a power level 5 on that planet, so you should be able to solo it." As he collected his money and clapped Turles on the shoulder, the mysterious man murmured. The purple man leaned his head closer to Turles' ear and muttered something into his Saiyan's ear, hypnotizing him till his eyes began to glaze over. "This is what you're going to do when you get to Earth." It was as though the mystery man was casting a spell on Turles. After a few moments, the indoctrinated Turles rose and walked to his spacepod. Turles would train for 4 years, hopping from world to planet, fighting the natives until his power level hit 1,500 as his spaceship launched off into the depths of the starry ocean. After that, he was told to return to Earth and complete the mission assigned to him by the Purple Man. The cloaked person turned to face Namek and asked, "So, my little anomaly, what kind of power will you grant me? I've pushed the time frame to a far more beneficial and enjoyable outcome. Don't let me down. Hee 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 hee. It's like a game of chess. This is going to be awesome." Asterisk 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 asterisk. Meanwhile, back with the main character, Naruto and company had landed on Namek. It didn't take them long to find Guru thanks to their ability to sense ki. Nail was the strongest member of his warrior race, and despite his suppressed power level, he stood out from the rest. Naruto landed at Guru's house and waited for Nail to greet them. As he emerged from the dwelling, he asked authoritatively, "Who are you, and why have you come to our planet?" "I'm here to speak with Lord Guru about the future of your world, and the dangers of the frost demon known as Frieza," Naruto said, holding out his hand. "Nail. Allow them in." Guru's voice rang out in everyone's thoughts. Naruto grinned and was allowed in. They took a seat next to Guru, the big Namekian sage, before introducing themselves. "So, what have you come to say about the fate of our world?" With solemnity, Guru inquired. Naruto then went on to say, "The one known as Frieza from the Frost Demon race has this planet on his conquer lists. His people will eventually come to our planet and either enslave or wipe out your entire planet in order to seize it from your people. Frieza rules the Frost Demon Empire, and the Planetary Trade Organization is its major army. The PTO make their income by selling captured planets to the highest bidder." Naruto then took a deep breath to allow his words to sink in. Naruto then revealed, "Frieza is approximately 221 times stronger than my highest ki output," after giving them time to assimilate the information. This time, both Guru and Nail were completely stunned and realized the gravity of the situation. Naruto was the strongest person on the world at the time, and if this Frieza knew about them, their planet was in grave danger. "So, tell me, why have you come here?" Guru inquired. "To help and be helped," Naruto replied, crossing his arms. "Oh, what exactly do you require?" Guru inquired once more. "First, I'd like you to help us realize our full potential. Second, if it's okay with you, I'd like to use the Dragon Balls, Naruto responded. Alright, Nail, go get the Dragon Balls from the village elders, Guru said. Yes, Lord Guru, says the narrator. Before leaving, Nail clasped his hands together and bowed gently. Guru placed his palm on top of Naruto's head and murmured, "Interesting. You have the ability to perform magic, and you have well prepared for this event. I must commend you. I have never seen such a reservoir of dormant potential in my life." Naruto's body began to boil unexpectedly. His entire body was hot, and his tail was irritated. He could sense an explosion of ki in his center that raged with furious dominance throughout his body. A sliver of golden aura could be seen emanating from his body for a brief while. Naruto laughed as he felt his power level rise to 6,304,000 and continue to rise slowly. Naruto's gain was significantly greater than Krillin and Gohan's due to the hard training. The initial surge was a 13.3 times increase. Through telepathic techniques, he also obtained some understanding of spell making from Guru. Raditz came up next. Raditz's new power level was 5,100,000 after his body went through a same experience as Naruto's following the original boost, making his boost a 10.1 times jump right away. Finally, Nappa's new place was 4,880,000, resulting in a 9.7 times gain on his potential raise. Naruto was awestruck by Guru's abilities and decided to make a wish specifically for him. Naruto believed that his abilities and powers should not be compromised at any cost. After a spell of waiting and adjusting to their newfound strength, Nail returned with the Dragon Balls. Raditz and Nappa were startled after summoning Porunga, so Nail, their interpreter, turned to Naruto and inquired, "What are your wishes?" Naruto took out a piece of paper with the words, "Wish list for Vanity 1. Bestow eternal youth on the Nemekons, Guru from Namek, and Kami from Earth. Give them the knowledge they need to help the Namekian race reclaim their lost strength and position in the universe." With this request, Naruto empowered the Namekians and strengthened their dragons, allowing them to better grant his wishes. 2. If any Saiyan species marries another humanoid race, their children will be pure-blooded Saiyans. 3. Regardless of the timeline alteration, ensure the safe and healthy births of Trunks, Bra, Gohan, and Goten. Regardless of whether they are born earlier or later, their souls and personalities will remain the same. 4. To learn a technique that allows me to teleport to other universes. 5. To own a portable training area that can aid in training a Saiyan to their greatest capacity. The first requirement is that it be in the shape of a door with a frame. 5a. It should be capable of controlling the time difference between inside and outside the chamber by a factor of 1000. 5b. The room must be capable of gravity manipulation, which will always push the individual's body to greater limitations, but the gravity may also be banished to 1g if they do not wish to train. 5c. A mental training function that can enable Saiyans practice to manage their Uzaru forms, implying that the training grounds must have a perpetual full moon. 5d. A Super Saiyan training function that employs an illusion capable of manipulating the psyche of a willing subject. It provides the greatest scenario to help activate and exaggerate their emotions. It must be delivered in the guise of training so that the Saiyans do not fully rely on it. 5e. A few hundred completely equipped luxury houses, each with a time-locked fridge containing a trillion years' supply of food and drink. Ever-growing sensu bean farms. 5f. 5g. The final requirement is that everyone training inside the chamber be granted eternal youth until they leave. 6. To have 2 unbreakable scouters who can translate the language of any sentient species in real-time and read power levels indefinitely. 7. For me to learn the gods' language. My first wish is to make everything on this list a reality, Vegeta smiled. Naruto didn't know if it would work, but once Nail said the words in Namekian, his wish was granted. He swiftly burned the paper into nothingness with his ki, making it impossible for anybody to see what he had written. Guru and Kami recovered their youth as well as a wealth of knowledge. In exchange, Porunga's wishing talents grew, fulfilling the rest of the wish list in quick succession. Naruto was given a new slick-looking scouter, and a big framed door with dragon imprints engraved into its golden surface appeared. The object was given the name the Timeless Training Grounds by Vegeta. Naruto also learned how to teleport to distant universes, and he also learned the language of the gods, so he could use the Super Dragon Balls whenever he wanted. After putting his new treasures in his pocket, Naruto smiled and said, "For my second and final wish, you are to resurrect Raditz's parents. First, resuscitate his father's body on this planet in front of us. My third wish is to bring Raditz's mother Jine back to life in the same way. Vegeta. Raditz exclaimed with delight. How come you wished for that? Why not make the three of us immortal? Nappa yelled. It would be pointless to ask the dragon for immortality, Naruto replied, shaking his head. After all, if someone is equal to or stronger than the creator of these Dragon Balls, they can simply ignore the request and kill us anyhow. The dragon's eyes blazed as he whispered, "It shall be done," before disappearing into the distance. Two inexperienced and just resurrected Saiyans now gazed at Naruto, Nappa, and Raditz. Raditz felt his mother cling to him and begin crying into his chest. I'm not sure how this is possible, but I'm so happy to see my little Raditz again. As she smothered her son, Jine said, "Not so little anymore, Mom." Raditz grinned as he wrapped his arms around her. How? How can any of this be possible? As he stroked his face, Bardock inquired. Perhaps I can explain, Naruto said. Prince, Jine and Bardock both exclaimed in amazement. It's King now. My father is no longer alive, Naruto replied, shrugging his shoulders. Naruto took Bardock through a loop as he described what had transpired and how they were resurrected. Thank you for looking out for my son, Lord Naruto, said Bardock as he approached Naruto with a Saiyan salute. But why did you desire us back rather than your own parents? Why not all of the Saiyans? Well, Bardock, I brought you back as a wedding gift for Kakarot. He'll be a father in a couple of years, Vegeta smiled. What? Raditz, Bardock, and Jine exclaimed, shocked and exaggeratedly. I'm getting a grandchild. Jine's demeanor immediately changed as she roared. Naruto paused to let the shock of their child's marriage to wear off before stating, as for why I didn't bring everyone back, it's because the Namekian Dragon Balls can't. That, and I will only bring back Saiyans who are kind-hearted like Jine. Naruto then went on to describe what had happened and his plans for the Saiyan race's future. Raditz approached his father, his mother dangling from his arm. His father was the one person he admired and looked up to. He was eager to hear those words, which he hadn't heard in a long time. You've grown stronger, son, Bardock said with a smile. Thank you, father, thank you for saying that, Raditz murmured, gently covering his face and holding back tears. So what do we do now? Bardock asked, patting his shoulder. We still have another 6.5 years until Raditz was supposed to show up on Earth, Naruto thought. So Naruto resolved to spend the next 6 years training Bardock and Jine until they could compete with everyone's strength. Naruto led them into the Saiyan training grounds to teach them the fundamentals of ki control. The inside of the chamber resembled the hyperbolic time chamber, except it contained 200,000 luxury cabins built of durable materials. Naruto was sure to keep the time linear with the outside world, since he didn't want to get too far ahead of Goku, as training him would take too long. He desired a confrontation with Goku on an even playing field. After all, as Vegeta from the original canon stated, Kakarot can drive him to greater heights than anybody else. Naruto even invited Nail as a guest. He decided to express his gratitude by allowing him to train here as well. Although the Namekian had the benefit of a Zenkai boost or Saiyan physiology, gravity training was beneficial to him as well, and combat training helped Nail significantly develop. They trained the two Saiyans, Bardock and Jine, with Nail's assistance, and the Namekian grew with them for 6 years. Asterisk 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 K asterisk 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 TK asterisk 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 back on Earth, events unfolded similarly to the original canon, with the exception that Goku attempted to resurrect his grandfather with the Dragon Balls a year after training with Roshi. Unfortunately, he was unable to resurrect those who had been dead for more than a year. Not to mention that when they met at Baba's, Grandpa Gohan told Goku that he didn't want to be wished back. Because Goku never lost his tail and found a means to control it, he overcame Roshi at the World Martial Arts Championship by transforming into a huge ape. When Goku looked down and smiled at his master, he patted Roshi on the head and said only 2 words, "I win." Because of this, the moon was spared destruction, and Goku returned to the tournament for more because he considered utilizing his Uzaru form to be cheating. As time passed, the King Piccolo incident occurred, Krillin perished, Goku went after the killer, and events proceeded as usual. Goku eventually met Kami and trained with him. As an added benefit, Kami informed him that he could wish his grandfather back because he had trained with him and developed some strength of his own. Eventually, he encountered Piccolo at the World Martial Arts Tournament and consented to marry Chi-Chi, startling everyone in the audience once more. He fled with his wife to live a peaceful life in the Highlands after defeating Piccolo in the tournament. To be continued.
That's it for this part, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. I hope you did enjoy the pretty story, and if you did, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.